This is Mitchell from New Dawn Aquaculture. We're a coral farm located in Edmonton, Alberta that focuses on sustainably and ethically producing coral for the Canadian market. And today, I want to talk to you about one of the most important things we feel we do in our coral farm, and that's feeding all of our corals amino acids every single day. This video is going to be featuring coral amino from Brightwell Aquatics. It's the amino acid product that we feed our corals at New Dawn Aquaculture, and we love it because of its high concentration and the results we see while feeding it to our corals. But you can take this more as a conversation about amino acids in general. There are a lot of different opinions and often contradictory opinions on what foods are best to feed, how often you should feed, or if you should feed your coral at all. And there are some foods that have some real scientific evidence behind them, where there are others that simply have anecdotal stories behind them. And all of this makes it really difficult to know the best way for you to feed your corals. I can't claim that we've figured out the best diet possible for corals that leads to the fastest possible growth rates and the best possible coloration. I don't believe anyone can honestly make that claim. There's just so much we don't know about farming coral at this point in time. But what I can say is I think we're pretty close. We get really great growth, we get really great color, our corals grow very strong skeletons, and a lot of that has to do with the amino acids that we feed them. The analogy that I like to use when it comes to feeding corals is if you have a cat or a dog, amino acids are the daily kibble. They should make up the bulk of the diet and they should be fed every day. These other popular coral foods like frozen mysis, powdered coral foods, or pellets, they're more the occasional treats. They're hugely beneficial, but I don't believe they should make up the bulk of your coral's diet. And at least for us in our coral farm, we feed these foods 1 to 2 times a week, whereas the amino acids are being fed every single day. I will admit, amino acids are definitely less fun to feed. A big part of the reason why these other coral foods are so popular is because you get to watch the coral, especially LPS corals, bring the food to its mouth and eat it. Whereas amino acids, you don't really get to watch the coral eat them. They're simply absorbed through the flesh of the animal. But where you lose out on the enjoyment of feeding your corals, you gain in the enjoyment of the way your corals look the rest of the day. Frequent feedings with amino acids lead to better polyp extension, puffier polyps, faster growth rates, and most importantly, better colors in your corals. The reason why amino acids are so great for corals is because they're the building blocks of the proteins that corals use. They have a high bioavailability and a low metabolic cost for the corals to consume. In plain terms, what this means is that they're easily absorbed into the coral's flesh, they don't require a lot of energy for the coral to process, yet they have a high yield in how much flesh the coral can grow for that low cost. So they're just a very efficient way of feeding your coral. For us as a coral farm, this is really important to us. All of the coral we currently have available, we want it being as healthy, as colorful, and as puffy as it could possibly be for you. And we also have a whole bunch of coral in the farm that's in grow out, and it's going to take a long time before we can make it available. So the faster we can grow this coral, the better. I have to give a disclaimer when it comes to feeding your corals. Too much of a good thing can definitely be a bad thing, and when it comes to amino acids or other coral foods, that's definitely the case. Overfeeding these will pollute your water, and that polluted water can cause way more harm to the corals than the benefits you're getting from feeding them. So just make sure if you're feeding heavy, you're also exporting those nutrients heavily as well, either through water changes or algae scrubbers or protein skimmers. That's the way we like to do it. We feed heavy and we clean the water heavily, but if you don't want to do a lot of nutrient export, you're also going to have to limit how much you're feeding. When you start feeding amino acids, make sure you read the instructions on the back of the bottle to ensure that you're not overdosing them to your system. Coral Amino recommends 1 milliliter per 50 gallons a day with a maximum dosage of 5 milliliters per 50 gallons a day. I recommend that you start with a pretty low feeding schedule and you slowly increase it until you start to notice any issues with nutrients. You're looking for a sweet spot where you're feeding the corals as much aminos as you can daily while not creating nutrient problems, and it's going to take some trial and error to find that. But you're better to underdose it than overdose it. I hope I've helped explain why amino acids are so great for the corals in your aquarium. If you want to learn more about coral amino, you can find more information on our website at ndaquaculture.ca. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. We'll be doing more videos on all of the coral strains we farm, the dry goods we use to farm those corals, and the captive redfish we sell. So thanks for watching and stay tuned.